holds tight for 10 seconds.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever E3 2016 EA press conference Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Geddes, joined by the coolest dudes in video games, Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller.
Bonjour.
So that sucked.
It was awful.
Man.
Just an awful conference.
Yeah.
In every way.
They outdid themselves from being worse than last year. How did they do that?
I think EA's portfolio is too diverse to put into press conferences easily, because they do need to spend time on the fact that they're doubling down for this esports business. But like, did anyone who cared about that? Like, and it's well, I talked about it before in the pre-show, right? And the fact that like we've talked to Adam Boyes about how they set up PSX, and there needs to be 3 announcements for every person. Even the announcements here, the ones we were super excited about, were underwhelming. It's the exact opposite of what Colin was wanting or predicting, right? The Mass Effect, here you go, and we'll talk more about it in the fall. It's a cool idea. You're going to Andromeda. You are the alien, new species. Nothing really to show. Yeah, so no date to give you.
So what this told me, first of all, is that with Mass Effect specifically, I was super surprised by that. It just tells me the game's not even close to being ready to go. So expect a significant delay on that. There's no way that game's coming out, I think, even anywhere near the first half of 2017, unless they're gonna pull some shit in the fall, which is possible. Which would be a Bethesda-like move, I was saying, but I don't know why they would. Maybe they're gonna have their own standalone kind of thing, their own thing in October and September or something, where they're gonna be like, we're gonna have our own Mass Effect little conference or whatever. Mm. But I gotta be honest with you. I mean, not to pat myself on the back, but I'm gonna pat myself on the back. This conference is exactly what happens when you talk about games that are not ready, that are too early. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. It's exactly what I said before the conference started. They have a bunch of games that are either imminent that you don't give a fuck about anymore because they're so close, like Titanfall and Battlefield. I'm not saying that you don't care about playing them. I'm saying we get it. You bring out Jade Raymond to talk about Star Wars. She tells you literally exactly what we've already known about Star Wars. We know every game that's in development. We know that this is an action-adventure game. We know Respawn's working on something different. We know that Visceral's game's coming out 2018, etc. She says nothing new. Then they give all these interviews about games. They show a little bit of gameplay of the Visceral game, which looks great. Mm-hmm. It's total bullshit. This is why you do not talk about games before they're ready to be shown. This is exactly why this conference suffered from the exact thing I said before, which is they have nothing to talk about except for their sports games, 2 shooters, and that's basically it. And I think actually the game that I saw that was most impressive, other than wanting to Mass Effect, was that game Fey or Fee or whatever, which I think looks cool. Well, that conference suffered from exactly that's exactly why you do not play it like this, because now everyone's gonna be like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" That's it. That's gonna be everyone says about EA. EA's conference now is that you showed nothing because your shit isn't ready. Yeah. So there you go.
Man, I mean, just going through it chronologically. So they start off with Titanfall 2 multiplayer, which I was a little surprised about because we thought they were just going to focus on the single player stuff.
Told you in the multiplayer, as I predicted, looked way better than single player.
See, I'm interested. I agree with you that the multiplayer trailer does look cooler because it has all the cool moments and stuff. I thought the single player trailer lacked like that wow moment at the end. It seems like the Titan and you were going to kind of have like a weird back and forth.
It's pretty clear what's going to happen. The Titan is a sentient being, and at the end, we'll have to let him go into the wild. That's the story you're building in the single player campaign. This robot can talk and pick people. He's like
Aladdin. He's the genie.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, pretty much.
Yeah, well, I mean,
or Johnny Five from Short Circuit.
But because I'm not going to play Titanfall's multiplayer, I'm just not going to. But the single player, cool. That looks fine for me.
Okay.
If you get some of those cool moments that we saw in the multiplayer into the single player, which I'm sure that they will. I'm sure that they'll build in jumping out and Scorpion the dude over, because that looked fucking awesome.
Yeah, no, the grappling hook seems like a great addition to it, especially in the way of combat in that way. Not granted, only the top 1% like Alfredo will be able to use it that way, I'm sure, but
whatever.
No, I'll be missing people left and right.
I'm sure they'll make it kind of like auto grab or whatever. Yeah, they announced a beta, but they didn't call it a beta.
Yeah, you can go to Titanfall.com to sign up to be first to know about it.
Yeah,
okay,
it's like all right, and then October 28th release date.
Yeah,
which leaked this morning. But
sure. Yeah. Good. That's good.
And we've known that was going to be in the window for a while. It was within the window of September. What was it, like September 27th and November 2nd or something? We knew it was going to be somewhere in there because it's going to flank Battlefield by 3 weeks.
That's what they said. But then it's interesting that it's just a week. Battlefield's the 21st, 28th, then is Titanfall. That I thought they were when they said 3 weeks, then I was totally predicting it to be later or 3 weeks earlier, but not 1 week later. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I think that this is a bad mistake, and I don't know what they're reading in the tea leaves or what they're reading in their their marketing and their pre-order numbers, they're reading, I mean, obviously a lot into doing something like this. I think it's a huge mistake. I don't know why you would do this. EA has the capital to hold Titanfall. And if I were them, I'd get Titanfall way out of Battlefield's way. So it's clear that Battlefield 1's going to be a big hit. Whether or not it does well critically is another thing entirely, but people are excited about it. It's different. It's something people are clamoring for and craving. Titanfall, the original Titanfall, was super underwhelming. It didn't have any player retention. They're sending this thing out to die. And it doesn't really make any sense at all. You would want to give Titanfall 2 a perfect, nice window somewhere in like March, maybe even February, maybe even January, to thrive for a little while, because I do think they're making a mistake. I think that they're going to, by proxy, kill Titanfall 2.
It's interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, look at what they're doing right now. They just ended the EA press conference and they're doing their own live stream of 64-man Battlefield 1 multiplayer. And whereas Titanfall has always hung its hat on multiplayer, I thought the multiplayer trailer looked great. I don't think the single player looks great. I'm still excited for that. But it is interesting to see how they're marketing these two games right on top of each other.
Yeah, man. Like it's actually kind of shocking to me that they went through with this conference and made it such a big deal that they were doing this EA Play thing and like doing their own special event for this.
Yeah.
Again, it is very, really focused on people playing and like them doing the dual thing in London and here.
Right.
It's about the players playing the games now, and that's cool, whatever. But I agree with Colin. Like, why even show the other stuff then? Like, why even bring it up? Like, if they're gonna do that,
it's because it's the same reason they have to, right? It's like, and they were played in the same corner they were 2 years ago, where nothing's ready. So what are we gonna do?
But I think there's a difference though when like the little bit of footage, cool, that's fine to mention that, but all the other stuff, like I feel like you need something. You can't just talk about it. There needs to be like a trailer or something. And like I think the dev diary stuff that's where it crosses the line, where it's like, all right, you really have nothing. Like I was talking about earlier, the Battlefront trailer that was the actual like CG trailer. Even a CG trailer, give me that. Give me something to get me excited.
Something
not
produced.
Just like, yeah, things are happening and we're interviewing people and it really, no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
Like this should have just been, here's Titanfall, here's Battlefield, here's the sports games. They're the things that are happening. You can play them right now. Cool. But again, that's not exciting to people. So I understand them doing it, but I do think it's weird that they made such a big deal of play and did this with it. So then they talked about Madden 17, bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, they go on and on about esports.
Yeah, I wasn't even talking about Madden, the new game. It was talking about esports.
And super tone deaf about where they were talking about this game. They kept throwing it back to London and showing that kind of stuff. I hate to tell you, I mean, there are football fans in England, but that's a weird thing. You wonder why the crowd wasn't so into it in the beginning. It's like maybe you have Peter Moore out there talking about fucking Madden to a British audience. I don't know. That was a little weird to me. And the one thing that I think it was Patrick Sutherland, it wasn't him. It was the CEO that said that I want to talk about just mention real quick. In the very beginning, he says there are 2.6 billion game players globally. Bullshit. I just want to throw that number out there. Bullshit. There are. Just because you have an app on your phone means you're a player of a game. That's over 2/5 of the world's population playing video games. I don't think so. So I wanted to throw that out there as well. That it just seemed like it was just a weird conference from the get-go with that really random statistic that you think would be more useful if they like spotlit PopCap or something, which they didn't do at all this year. So I thought that was a weird number going into Titanfall and then going into esports for like 10 minutes talking about Madden in front of it. It's like, what? It doesn't make any sense. Like the whole conference. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. You can continue your run though.
So then after Madden, they went to Mass Effect Andromeda and they announced it's running on Frostbite for the first time. And it's like, okay, cool. Another dev diary for that. And it's like, great.
Seems like a lot of things are running on Frostbite now, which is interesting. That's a proprietary, obviously, EA engine, but seems like they're moving almost everything to it, which makes me wonder if they're actually having an easier time scaling things and making it easier for everyone to patch and stuff by concentrating on a single engine.
Sure.
And
Plus you learn from each other.
Right. I was seeing FIFA running in Frostbite was interesting, but obviously like not necessarily mind blowing. But seeing Mass Effect, which I didn't know was going to run in Frostbite, was interesting as well. So scaling that to all sorts of implementations when you really think of that engine being mostly first person centric. I thought it was an interesting kind of tidbit, but kind of super insider baseball. I don't really know why they even show that logo over and over again. I don't think 99% of people.
They're trying to make it a thing. They're trying to make that be a thing for some reason.
Then FIFA 17. So I thought it was weird that they kind of sandwiched Mass Effect in between the two sports games, especially because they didn't have much to say at all about Mass Effect. And they had so much to say about the other two. But with FIFA, they showed my boy Alex Hunter. He came out.
Your boy now?
Oh, he's my boy.
He's on a journey.
Yeah, he is on a journey. And he came out and did his thing. And then they announced that there's manager dudes in the game. They brought out the manager dudes and it was awkward. It's like, man, can't even get Pele this year. He's
not a manager. They don't need to worry about him.
My God. A whole bunch of random bullshit like that. But then they showed a gameplay trailer for FIFA and it's like, cool. It's whatever. It's FIFA. What I do think is interesting that the single player the single player sports thing is always difficult because that stuff definitely adds value to those games and like does kind of create something new. But it's hard to give people what they want, and it's easy to hate on it too.
Yeah, of course.
But I like that they're going with, here's a character. You're playing as this person. They have a storyline. It's not a created character. It's not, you're just whoever you want. You have no voice and all this stuff. I like that there is an actual narrative.
I'm glad to see them bring that over. You've seen the NBA games do it so successfully and give you something else to do. If you want to just go play exhibitions or seasons, sure. But here's this different option to trying to bring in narrative, try to tell a story.
Yeah, like I obviously don't play sports games, but the closest I do is wrestling games.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, and I always appreciate it when it wasn't the generic build your way up the road to WrestleMania. When it was you're playing as this character. Here's the storyline you're going through.
So, there's real things that are going to happen.
I think at least whatever. There's that.
Yeah, I thought that. I want to say that I thought that was one of the most interesting things they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
for sure.
EA Originals was announced, which is essentially, we saw it last year with Yarny or with Unraveled, and now they're going to do more of that. They're promising they're going to keep going. What the hell's happening right now? On screen, we got my boy Tyrese talking to
Jose Sanchez.
The game, the rapper of the game, wearing a fucking Bowser shirt. Can we pull that up, Kevin? Good Lord. Oh, this is a fun day.
Xbox One branded.
Anyways.
But no, that was the thing. As beforehand, I was more interested to see what they would do to follow up on Yarny and if that would be a thing. And so to announce the EA Originals program, talk about how they'll help smaller devs market, make games, do all these different things. Very interesting. Then you got Klaus from Zoink Games in Gothenburg coming
up
out.
A bunch of words there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they announced that the EA Originals, the tenets are unique first-time experiences, supporting small devs, and funding and offering security for them. So yeah, it is
a
really
great
cool.
idea, great move.
And they announced Fee. He pronounced it both ways, so I don't know what it is.
Faye.
But it's a narrative about nature. There's no words being told. It's very Journey-esque, where there's a lot of little like
communicate through songs. You learn the songs of the area. That gives you. It sounded almost like, it's not obviously, but almost like a Castlevania Super Metroid kind of thing, where you're getting a song that'll get you to a different part of the forest. And you saw it from being on the ground level to being on trees to flying on things.
It reminded me kind of like, it has the visual styling of Ori and the Blind Forest, like color palette at least, but it's 3D, so it's more of a like the Journey style. But then it has the kind of like talking to things opens up new areas that Flower has.
Yeah.
So yeah, it fits into that mold of that type of game. But I love that type of game, so that's really exciting. And the colors were really, really pretty. So I'm into that. Did that tickle your pickle, Colin?
Yeah, I think that game looks interesting. I think that I gotta be honest with you, EA showcasing these games, I felt the same way about Unravel, but now I really feel this way, is like it's very pandering. In terms of like, look how we're not a big major corporation, but it just felt the announcement of this game in there, I felt like it was lost. It felt the same way with Unravel, where
now, do you think it's really pandering though, or is it just give off the appearance of it? Because I believe Peter Moore when we talked to him last.
No,
E3.
I believe them too. I don't think that I just like they announced Unravel 2, for instance, so quickly when like no one seemed to be playing it.
No.
And I just don't know how they might have made profit on it. Maybe they made it very cheap for several $1 million, and maybe they did make their money back. But I just don't. To me, it just seems like it's I like what EA's doing. I think it's nice, it's cute, to like go and like give a 20-team studio, a few $1 million to make a game when you have these studios of 300 or 400 people, or these huge collaborative studios like what Visceral's doing with Motive, and Dice and all this kind of stuff working on these games. So it's like, it's definitely, there's a lot of dissonance there, and I think it's cool. But I also feel like it doesn't fit at all with what EA is and like what they do, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think they have to be like they're a big corporation that wants to make a lot of money on big AAA games. You don't have to like have this pandering shit in the middle of your conference. I just don't really feel like it fits their motif, and I don't really think it doesn't come off as authentic to me at all. Like because I don't think it's not congruent with everything else they do.
I'll give you that it might not come off as authentic. I do believe in them though, and I think that part of it is very much they want to change what their image is. They don't want to be viewed as the evil company each and every year, over and over voted on that way. They want to get out and break that mold, and so doing that. I would have liked to have seen it though go the opposite way. We have a very weak press conference. We don't have a lot of things to actually show you, hard release dates to give you. I wish they would have doubled down on more of these people who are in EA Originals and been like, all right, cool, let's talk for 10 minutes about EA Originals. We're going to show you 3 games. Here are these awesome developers we're working with and what they brought to the table.
But instead, they didn't. And then they started talking about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Which was the exciting thing that they kept hyping up throughout the whole
5 minutes till Star Wars.
And last year, at least, they had this where it was like, 5 minutes till Star Wars, 5 minutes till Star Wars, and it finally came, and it was like, oh fuck, Battlefront looks amazing.
Yeah.
We're seeing it, we're seeing the gameplay and stuff, and like it was definitely a wow moment that kind of brought up the conference from being completely terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, here it's just kind of like, all right, there's a whole bunch of Star Wars games coming. Dyson Motive, they confirmed it's Star Wars 2016. No, not 2016. They just said that it's coming
Next year. that Dice and Motive are collaborating on Star Wars Battlefront
2, you would assume.
Gotcha. And then Visceral, they just showed some in-game footage, about 3 seconds of it. And
said 2018 for that one.
That looks amazing.
Yeah,
to me, that's definitely the most exciting thing to come from the whole conference.
Yeah, it was a nice look at the game, and it was nice to see Amy back again. I thought that this was one of the highlights. I mean, obviously, Greg and I go way, back with Amy from the Uncharted franchise and from our relationship with Naughty Dog, but it's nice to see her back in the fucking trenches. No Battlefield 1 reference intended there, and it's cool to see her kind of creating something and kind of being given some time to create what she wants. I mean, this game is far away, and I don't think there's anything wrong with talking about the game in interviews or whatever, because the game is probably 2.5 years away still. You have to assume it's probably a fall 2018 game.
Yeah, they said 2018, but I bet that gets pushed.
So this is another example of like you're tantalizing people with shit that's just not even. It's just I just don't get this approach at all. Like, it's exciting enough though Amy Hennig's working on the game, and just go away for a couple of years and don't even talk about it at all. Just tell everyone to shut the fuck up and make your game, and then show us something. Punch everyone in the face, because now we have a little idea of what it looks like. It just I just don't feel like they're managing their portfolio very well. We often talk about that term. It's a term that our friends at Sony have used with us in the past, and others at other publishers, managing the portfolio. How do you treat the different games? How do you announce them and reveal them? It's a very thoughtful thing that happens behind the scenes, and I just think that they're like taking a shotgun and just fucking shooting it.
Well, I think
like regardless of where every team is, and you saw that with Mass Effect, which is shocking, by the way, like absolutely shocking that they had nothing to say about Mass Effect. Are you kidding? Like, that's a huge disappointment. We're done with the Star Wars games. You should have known better too when they put Mass Effect so up in the front too, that they weren't going to show anything, because that would have been a game I would have ended with. You're
talking about authenticity and lip service and all these different things. I think if anything, I don't think it's about the lack of authenticity and the amount of lip service is played to EA Originals. I think it's played to EA Play this entire event, where clearly we're not going to go to E3. We're going to do our own thing. This is still very much E3, and it's that clearly your hand was forced that it was time to do a press conference, and you're not ready for one, but you're going to do one and just put out what you can and put out these different videos. And I don't even know if they thought by saying it was EA Play and not a part of E3 that lowers the expectation level, when of course it doesn't when there's the live stream.
Yeah, no, like I was saying earlier,
pre-show, post-shows.
Same thing. To piggyback on something Colin was saying, like, I am shocked at how little we saw of Mass Effect. Like, right before we did this in the pre-show, I was like, oh, that's a shoo-in.
I thought so too. I thought you were absolutely right about that.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I can't believe we didn't see a gameplay demo. I really thought we were going to get a good chunk. I thought it was going to be at least 10 minutes of Mass Effect. We're playing live demo.
Yeah.
We didn't see any live demos.
No.
At all. And it was all just talking trailers.
This is what I'm saying. Again, it all goes back to the same theme. The same theme of mismanagement of timelines and releasing games and revealing games because you have nothing to talk about except for your annual kind of things that everyone's tired of hearing about. Of course you're coming out with the FIFA, of course you're coming out with the Madden, another Battlefield, all these kinds of things. It's just not that exciting. So like Greg was saying, and it's true, you have to pad your shit, but it's just a mismanagement. It makes you wonder if EA even needs to have a conference. Like, why not just disappear? Like, if you were going to do this and do this EA Play thing and let people go hands-on, thousands of fans, which I think is a great idea to let people kind of get hands-on. They're going to be great evangelists for their friends and their people on the internet. Then let them focus on that and don't even worry about the press conference, because it's just optically bad. Because the weird thing about this is the comparison between how good the games look and how disappointing the conference was, because it's not like old Konami shit that we used to see when they used to actually do like small press conferences where it was like
extreme.
Yeah, like the games look fantastic. Not a single game that I saw, including the sports games, looks anything but great. So it's like, of course,
Graphically?
Mass Effect, just generally, like like Titanfall 2 is, I'm sure, going to be a great game.
Yeah.
Whether it has any retention, whether Battlefield 1 kills it, I don't know. Battlefield 1 obviously looks great. Mass Effect, from what we saw, looks great. I'm sure it's going to be fucking awesome. Everyone's excited about it. FIFA and Madden look awesome. That Fey or Fee game looks awesome. The new Star Wars games and obviously Battlefront's going to be a pretty good. It's like they have the goods, but they just don't have a way to deliver the message because everything's so scattered. And it makes you wonder if like they're going to learn a lesson to maybe not have to even do this next year, because I'm telling you, we're not the only ones that are going to rip this fucking conference apart. So, and this was somehow even worse than last year's. And they had the worst conference by a fucking mile last year.
Sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So then after Star Wars, they ended with Battlefield 1. Well, actually, still in Star Wars, they also showed the Respawn third-person shit. Like, at least that stuff, when we saw the motion capture shit, that looks really cool. Yeah. I'm very excited about that. Obviously,
that's gonna be good.
It's far out, but I'm excited. I'm very excited for the Star Wars games.
That I was like, oh, that's interesting, is they showed a PlayStation VR headset in a first-person cockpit of an X-Wing, it looked like. I'm not here, or a TIE Fighter, maybe. I think it's TIE Fighter. Is that right? Getting fact-checked by big nerd Kevin Coelho over there. Big dork. So that was, that was something I'm not aware of, them making a PlayStation VR Star Wars first-person VR game. That was interesting.
Yeah, I know recently, a couple days ago, we saw that Ubisoft's working on a Star Trek VR experience.
Yeah, the holodeck
thing.
stuff. Yeah.
So I'm excited to see where all the VR stuff. I didn't bring it up during the pre-show, but I actually thought they were going to go a bit more into it. I thought they were going to announce more Star Wars VR stuff and actually show it, but no, none of that shit's ready. And then they end with Battlefield 1 trailer that looks great. I think graphically it looks really
Battlefield 1
impressive.
looks fucking crazy.
And,
Really cool.
Horses.
They're about right now live. We're not showing it, but they're about to start the 64 player Battlefield, multiplayer match or whatever. I thought the trailer was a little weird at the end with like rap music starting to play.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what? And then they showed the full trailer and it had it. I'm like, that's really kind of off brand for Battlefield.
Explosions, bro. Shooting.
Yeah, no,
planes.
I get that.
They
but
put a Zeppelin
they
down
kinda
on a
have
little
their-
town.
The dun like they have that shit down. Like they don't need to. Call of Duty kind of has that with cool and edgy.
Well, now they want to be cool and edgy because they got the cool Battlefield 1. You get hitting people with a mace and stuff.
Yeah.
Riding horses.
Horses got fucking wrecked.
Yeah, that happens.
That dove got shot.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if the dove got shot.
Dove got shot.
Did he? He didn't get out of the tank inside?
Very symbolic.
I don't know. But she's
Death
going
to
down.
peace.
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx and Zac Efron did something that's on my notes.
So I want to say this about the kind of I think what you're going to see and what I suspect is going to be somewhat, if not a small, but maybe a significant contrast between the way Bethesda does it tonight and the way EA just did it. Bethesda, you assume, will follow a pattern closer to the 6, 12, 18-month cycle of their 3 games, right? So you're going to have Dishonored 2 as their most imminent game, which they'll show. Then you're going to probably have something like Machine Games come out with Wolfenstein, and maybe Tango come out with Evil Within, which would be Q1 or Q1/2, and then Q3/4 of next year, which I think is the smart way of doing. Now, is that definitely gonna happen? I don't know, but I just think that they learned so much from how they did things that you're gonna see a contrast that's going to make the conference way more friendly rather to the people out there that are waiting for something that's a little more imminent, a little more tangible, and they're gonna have things like Skyrim Remaster and all those kinds of things apparently that are gonna really get into people's hands hopefully pretty soon. So I'm interested to see the contrast between those things because I think Bethesda can just nail it tonight with just like they did last year, with just fewer announcements that are tangible and right in front of you and ready to go sooner, with some release dates or some release windows or some release years. And I'd be shocked if we didn't see a lot more of that tonight, if not all of that tonight. But maybe Bethesda disappoints me too. I don't think so. I think you're going to see a stark
learned a lot
contrast.
last year. I mean, like you want to talk about, they came out of the gate, their first press conference, they show up and they deliver, and people react and respond to that. You know what I mean? That was Bethesda's first move of like, hey, we're one of these publishers maybe you don't think of all the time, but we want you to. These are all these games we make that we don't shove it down your throat that we make these games. You know we make Elder Scrolls. You know that we make Fallouts. Do you know that we're attached to all the other things that we're bringing you all these other games? You imagine they know, based on that reaction, that they can't have this kind of press conference again.
Yeah, you'd hope. You really hope. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the first ever EA 2016 E3 press conference Gamescast. I need to practice that. I don't remember.
You're fine.
How
Who
the
cares?
flow
It's
goes.
fine.
We'll be back. When will we be back, Greg?
We'll be back at what? The Bethesda conference is 7, so 6:30?
6:30
We'll be back live.
Pacific time. We'll be here live on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. Until then, we're going to be doing a whole bunch of trailer reactions for some of the shit we just saw. I don't know how much we're going to do. Because
there weren't many trailers to react to.
But Kind of Funny Games over on YouTube. Go subscribe. All week long, we're going to be doing trailer breakdowns and all that good stuff. So we'll be back. It's going to be a good time. See you there.
And then we'll cut.
Cool. We'll cut there. Yeah.
And remember,